do it. Hello and welcome back to another review from the Simpleton Review Podcast. I am your host, Nate Wade, Simpleton number 1.
I'm Charlie Gibson, Simpleton number 2.
I'm Lemuel Edwards, Simpleton number 3.
Simpleton number 3. He sounds so excited to be Simpleton number 3, doesn't he, guys?
Heck yeah.
3's a good number.
3's a good number. All right. So, yeah, if you see any weird shadows or anything in Simpleton number 3's video, that's because his cute little wife is over there and her stinky feet are in the way. So it's fine. Everything all good. This is a professional podcast, people. It's fine. All right. And I can't edit that out. So if you see stinky feet, you see stinky feet. So, Charlie, tell me about your shirt.
Oh, I always buy an Irish shirt every time St. Patrick's Day runs around.
Yeah?
Because it's I'm 1/356th Irish, at least as far as I know. So.
Wait, you're
1/356th.
Oh.
But one day a year, I can be Irish.
You buy a shirt. This is Irish.
Buy a shirt. So I'm Irish.
So tell me, what exactly does the fingers crossed thing mean on that shirt?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's what Murphy did, or as he was like trying to explain what his law was, because he was an optimist.
Yeah. Right, fair enough. Where'd you get that shirt from? What company?
Old Navy.
Old Navy. There we go. I found a company online the other day called $6 t-shirts.
$5.
Yeah. Was it $5 there? I don't know. I spent $6 on my t-shirts. I got one t-shirt that said, you've seen those signs that say, like 0 days without injury or whatever at work, This one says
yes.
0 days without sarcasm. Loved it. It's great, sir. The other one I got, it says that band I liked in high school. It's a great shirt. By the way, did you know Pearl Jam has a brand new album out that they just released yesterday or Friday?
Oh, did they do an album?
Oh my gosh, it is amazing. It's so good. It's probably the best Pearl Jam album I've heard in many, many years. It's back to their really harder rock roots, back in the early 90s with Versus and 10 and those albums that they released back, when grunge was hot. Still very grungy with more of, I wouldn't say it's like grunge like the early 90s, but it's definitely Pearl Jam for sure. But it's not as I don't know.
I did hear the first single because it has a Talking Heads vibe to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, but it's not as happy as some of their newer stuff has been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, not at all.
I like it. So it's really good. Anyways, if you guys haven't listened to it, go listen to it. Maybe we'll review that album next month. I don't know. It's not my month to pick. So we'll figure out who's picking the album and what album we're going to review. I think it's actually Lemuel's turn.
It's going to be Lem's turn.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So I guess you're going to have to figure out what album that we need to review. You don't have to do Pearl Jam. There's no pressure. Okay? None at all. Don't.
No pressure.
Don't pick it. If you want to pick, I don't know, if you want to pick the next Baby Shark song, then pick that. It's fine.
Oh, please. Can we? Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Love to review Baby Shark. Anyways, this is not even a music. This is not even the music version of our podcast. We're going to be reviewing a movie, and that movie was picked by Simpleton number 3. So, Mr. Simpleton, what movie did you pick?
We watched Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep. Well, since you picked it, why don't you give us a little synopsis about what the movie was about?
Well, it was a sequel to The Shining. It kind of follows some events that happen after the kid from The Shining grows up. And basically, there's this war between him and this little girl and these dark people who eat the shine.
Yeah, but they steam.
The gist of it. Yeah, they eat the steam from the people who have shine.
Yeah, okay. So that's basically the gist of it, correct? Now, I don't know how much we want to go into spoilers on these kind of movies, or if we don't really care if we spoil it. A lot of these movies we're going to be reviewing have been out a while now, so it's not like we're doing new releases. So anyways, who's going to care if we spoil Dr. Sleep? It's not like the Avengers Endgame or anything.
I feel like we can spoil that at this point because that movie's been out forever and available to watch on Disney Plus.
Well, okay, so you guys tell me, what did you think of Dr. Sleep?
I thought it was a great follow-up. It was they did a good job at bringing in the old characters with new faces, still kind of like keeping like his mom's appearance. Not so much the look, but the voices like carried well.
You know what? That was one of the things I wrote down that I actually disliked. I didn't really like the fact that in my mind, I felt like they tried really hard to find people that looked like Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson and the kid that played Danny. I'm just like, was there really a reason that you had to be that specific? But obviously you looked at it a little differently than I did. I'm just like, I don't know.
I like more of the sound than I did the look.
Yeah.
Like they nailed Shelley Long's voice.
Yeah.
She was able to pick that out, and you could tell that, it was a ringer time.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think, Lemuel?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I don't think it was necessarily as scary as The Shining, but it was intense still.
Yeah, but was The Shining really scary more than it was creepy?
Yeah, it was definitely creepy and uncomfortable more, probably.
I think I noticed that the director of Dr. Sleep, and I can't remember the guy's name now, that did the directing of this one. Obviously, it wasn't Kubrick who did The Shining. Nobody's, I mean, come on. You can try to be Stanley Kubrick, but who really is, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But having said that, there was moments in the movie where I felt like they were trying to give that sense of foreboding, because in The Shining, there's lots of segments where there's this long stretches of sometimes silence or just this constant, like, Jack does the same things over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when he's throwing the tennis ball up against the wall or he's typing on the keyboard, all work and no play, that kind of thing. It's just this constant, just silent and just this long sense of foreboding. I think they tried to do that on occasion with this movie, and I don't think they pulled it off. I
don't think they nailed it as well as they could have.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Charlie?
No, I don't necessarily think that they tried that. I think they tried different things by doing a lot of camera movement and rotating like the main part of the screen to kind of draw you into little things, but not to the point where they drew anything out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were trying to work at a much faster pace.
They were. How long was the movie? I mean, because I don't know if they moved at that fast of a pace because the movie still ended up being over 2 hours long, right?
Right.
It was a long movie.
I don't know. So I'll tell you some of the points that I came up with, and we can discuss them if you want. So one of the things I said, I wrote like 2 pages of notes on this movie. I'm just saying. I wish they would have dealt a little bit more with Danny. So they when they deal with Danny as a kid, they deal with him locking up the ghosts, in the trunks, right? And he finally starts talking. That's the last scene you see with him and his mom. That he's talking. Yeah, everything's fine, Mom. That's what he says, right? And then the very next scene, you see him as a raging alcoholic who basically doesn't care for his life or anybody else's life. And then you find out later on in the movie that the lady he's with, he is dead, and he just basically doesn't care and leaves her there, and this poor little boy as well, So, but they don't tell you why. I mean, how did we go from Danny, oh yeah, he's okay, to all of a sudden being this raging alcoholic? There's nothing there that says any reason why. They should have at least given us some sort of dialogue or something that said, okay, this is why Danny is now the way he is, because it just seemed so abrupt and sudden to me.
Agreed. I think they struggled with that because they wanted to bring it into the dark side of cleaning up to get to where he met with the girl.
Yeah.
To where he had to have to struggle. But yeah, I agree. They dropped the ball.
Yeah. I mean, they did finally give you the idea at the very, very end of the movie. When he's talking to the bartender, they tell you through his dialogue what the deal was, but they waited this whole movie to finally tell you why Danny was the way he was. I'm just like, wow, you could have really done something there. What do you think, Lem?
Yeah, they should have somehow at least explained what brought him to that point before like the end of the movie, which is what happened. I
mean, they did, but like I said, it was at the end of the movie. They finally did, but it was at the end of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. And
well, I think they kind of did that just to prove a point with the self-sacrifice. of him blowing up the place and staying there to do it.
Yeah. I agree. So after when Danny finally goes to New England, on my notes here it says I felt like things got slow for a bit in the movie. Of course, I'm always going to deal with like how the movie's shot, what kind of, because this is my background, right? I went to movie classes when I was in college. That was my major at one point out of my 5 or 6 majors I had. But anyway, but it felt really like it really got slow. And another thing that came up was that I don't remember them telling us that Danny knew when people were going to die. You know what I mean? Like they didn't. That at the very end of the movie as well, giving us the idea that Danny understood when people were going to die when he's talking about his mother and the flies. But we don't get any reason to understand why Danny knows that people are going to die. So we don't even get any real reason to understand why he's called Dr. Sleep in the movie, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The only time they do any of that is like they show the flies when he sees the girl and her child like in his bed, and then like one of the patients calls him that later on.
Yeah.
That's it.
But if you haven't read the book, would you have any idea? Really? I mean, I don't think it was very obvious to me.
No. And I think they brought it up once with the with the person that was leading him through the shine. Because he called him Doc a couple of times.
Yeah.
But other than that, you wouldn't have caught that reference.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to me. So I guess, Lemuel, you said that your wife was able to handle the movie pretty well. There's a pretty disturbing scene. It's not really shown. It's more insinuated what's happening. They show the top half or the head of the boy that's being murdered. But in my opinion, I think that boy did such a fantastic job as an actor that I believed him, man. That kid was crying, and it was hard to watch. Maybe I'm getting wimpy in my old age, but it was hard to watch. And I know they didn't really show much, like I said, there wasn't a lot. I mean, they kind of show some blood splattering and whatnot, but it was still, the insinuation was so much that it was definitely difficult to watch. Was it really, I know it's the crutch of the story, right? I mean, I know it's what brings us into the second half of the story, and we start understanding what's going on, especially between Abra and Danny and those two characters. But was it really necessary to dwell on it that long? Dramatically speaking, what do you guys think?
No, probably not. Most of the movies, they would have cut it short a bit and they would have drawn more on spent more time on them sucking the energy out.
Yeah.
Instead of the torture part.
Yeah. And I think there was that whole section there too, where it felt like there was, they spent so long getting Danny to that body. I'm like, dude, it's like 3 minutes long, but instead you stretched it out for 10 to 15 minutes, getting his friend and going on the drive and talking to the girl in the car while they're going on the drive, and then getting to the place to dig up the body, and then spending all the time digging up the body, and then puking when they find the body. And I'm like, dude, you could have done all this in like 3 minutes. Really? This movie's 2.5 hours long. You got to cut it somewhere. I'm just saying. Any agreements, or do you think I'm off my rocker?
No, I agree.
Nope, you're on.
And what was up with this whole astral projection thing? I mean, I know there's shiners and whatever. Shiners? I don't know what that means. It sounds like something that puts on a circus every year. Sorry, that's a bad joke. But what the heck? All of a sudden, they're like floating in the sky, and they're. What was up with that? It was just weird.
That's how she's finding everybody that shines.
Yeah, but then Abra's projecting herself too, right? I mean, just like, I don't know, it's just weird. Whoops. I love you, microphone. Okay. That was just weird, I know. Okay. All right. I got a couple more points, and then you guys can bring up any points you want. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, okay. So, where was it? Crow Daddy, right? They deal with...
Oh, yeah.
We don't understand that part either. So she gets herself in the van. Abra does, right? And she sees all these people in the van, and she sees Crow Daddy driving the van, but then, or whatever it was he was driving, but then all of a sudden he's not there when they actually catch up with the people in the physical world. what happened? It just felt like there was this weird disconnect. Like how Crow Daddy was there, and then he got to her house and killed her daddy, right?
Yeah,
Just
it was quite disjointed.
I felt it was. I don't know. And there's that whole crutch. Well, that whole story. Okay, so when Danny finally goes into the bar and he sees the bartender, which happens to be his dad, right? And there's that whole scene where he's like tempted to drink the alcohol again. Is he going to turn out like his dad, or is he going to be Danny, the hero? And it's like, yeah, I'm going to be the hero. Did you guys feel like maybe there should have been just a little bit more struggle on whether or not he should drink that or not?
Absolutely. There was more of a struggle right after his friend committed, like he had the bottle.
Yeah.
That was more of a struggle than when he was in the hotel, which I feel like doesn't make as much sense to me because the hotel's where everything bad happened in the first place.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. Charlie, what do you think?
Somehow he must have mystically overcome the hotel anyway.
I guess.
It was all done beforehand.
I think part of it is dealing with the fact that Obi-Wan was playing Danny. And I apologize, Ewan McGregor, if you ever see this podcast, which I doubt you ever will, but you're not that good of an actor. I'm sorry. I mean, but I mean, come on. There was that angst that I'm just not feeling. Like, like it just popped in my head. Have you guys seen Saving Mr. Banks?
Yes.
No.
Okay, it's a story about how Walt Disney finally made Mary Poppins, but it was really more about the person who wrote Mary Poppins and her life, right? They had flashbacks to her life. Okay, Colin Farrell plays her dad in that movie, right? He, in my mind, did a fantastic job of showing what it means to struggle with alcoholism and always giving in to that demon that he had. Don't you think? Charlie, you said you see.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, now
especially when you see him like stretched out on the deck, and it's good.
I totally agree. So, one thing I was going to point out, I liked how the bad guys died. I really did. I think that their skeleton would pop out and they would kind of, I don't know, it was really funky. And if you listen to it on a big stereo system like I had, it sounded really cool. And then Danny sticking his head through the door was kind of a nice, homage when they flash back to the actual Shelley Duvall in the actual movie there, you know what I mean? That was kind of cool. But was it necessary?
Probably not. Not for the story anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really all the notes I've got. The couple of the others I have, I think we've already dealt with it. I don't know why my camera just keeps on going. I don't know, whatever. Am I stopping when you hear that noise? Or does it keep on going?
I don't think it's stopping.
Wait, that's all I want to know. Okay, so you guys tell me your thoughts or anything that you have written down that you thought about the movie. I've went on and on and on, but you tell me.
I thought that the major themes were just kind of, they're just kind of like pop fiction, just sticks in your head, like little things that, what they think of justice, what they think of the afterlife, and it just kind of the usual blah. But
what did they think of justice in your mind? What was their idea of it?
Well, everything was retribution. Everything had to go back and forth, and it was whether the bad guys wanted justice or the good guys wanted justice. It was always going to be some like major action.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Let me know. What about you?
I did enjoy the constant heartbeat for a portion of the movie, but I do have to say there was a point where it's like, okay, this is getting a little old. I feel like you're just relying on this to create tension, and it's starting to just get a little boring.
Well, what kind of a sound system you got over there?
I have this sound bar that Ryan gave to me a while ago. It's okay. It works fine.
Well, is it like my system at all or not?
No, it's just a sound bar in front of my TV.
All right. Well, you probably get in trouble if you had a sound system like mine since you live in an apartment house.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with the sound system we had, it was, really impressive because that that heartbeat had like major bass and you could feel it in your stomach. And so it really did. But you're right. I mean, there was a lot of times where they used that music to drive the story forward. And, that was effective. But there were so many times where there was, in my mind, there was a lot of stuff that could have been cut because it did not drive that story forward. Right.
Right. Like the drive-in stuff.
Driving scene. That was just like, okay, there's no point in this. It's not driving the story forward. And I just, that was kind of my beef. I know it sounds like I'm really negative about this movie. I'm not. There's far worse movies I've ever seen. There's even movies that I like that aren't as good as this one. I don't think it was a terrible movie by any means.
No, definitely not terrible.
Yeah. That wasn't great. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Look, I know Mr. Stephen King does not like the movie version of The Shining, at least the one that Stanley Kubrick did, but it still holds up in its own right. It may be a little different story than what Stephen King actually wrote, but it still holds up in its own right. I mean, the movie's, 40 years old, and it still feels like it could have been released, in present day because it doesn't feel dated at all. Maybe the haircuts and things like that, but other than that, it does not feel dated. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Hanging, man. Say.
So even though, I mean, they still show it around in like theaters. I mean, it still pops up like seasonally. Might show up around Halloween and stuff, and people go. I mean, it packs the house.
Right.
Every time.
Yep.
And they even had that Super Bowl commercial that like kind of ripped it off for the Mountain Dew or whatever.
Oh yeah, right. That's true. About that. That's true. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and give our ratings out of 5 stars. Charlie, what do you think Dr. Sleep is worth?
I would give it a 3.
3. Okay. Miguel, what about you?
I'd probably give it a 3.
Okay. Well, I am going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm going to say it is a 2. It's okay. It's not anything I would write home about, and I'm glad I didn't spend my $10 to go see it at the theater. How's that? All right.
Yeah, I don't think I would have seen it in the theater.
$189 was enough. I'm just saying. Okay.
Watching it on the plane was great.
Well, half of it on the plane. We were supposed to be sitting on the runway for an hour, and so I'm like, I'll start it because I thought we'd have time. But then he's like, 15 minutes later we take off. So I'm happy that the pilot was able to get clearance to leave, but it made it so I got to the part where they killed all the bad guys except for Crow Daddy and the whatever the woman is called. And so I didn't know what happened till the end. So I watched it again last night, and the kids watched it with me. The wife decided she wasn't going to because I had already made her terrified about the boy being, massacred, crucified, whatever he was, just destroyed.
Ugh.
So anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a good movie, and I'm glad I didn't pay more for it than I did. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Well, I think we probably beat this movie into the dirt. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we threw it under a bush.
We better sign off. Hey, again, Dr. Sleep isn't too bad. If you want to spend $4.99 to rent it from Amazon or some of those other places, do it. It's not too bad. Otherwise,
find it on a Redbox for $1 or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Redbox or until it gets on Netflix. Your choice. Whatever. Well, anyways, I'm Nate Wade. I'm the host of this thing. I'm Simpleton number 1.
I'm Charlie Gibson. I'm Simpleton number 2.
I'm Lemuel Edwards, Simpleton number 3.
And we are signing off until next month. You guys have a fantastic month. Stay quarantined. Watch a bunch of dumb movies. Listen to a bunch of great music. And we'll see you on the other side.